black woman is accused of shoplifting by a racist store manager. The next day, she shocks the store when she returns. Maya Thompson walked into Luxmart, a sophisticated department store known for its elegance and high-end merchandise. The quiet hum of soft music, mixed with the faint aroma of designer perfumes, created an atmosphere that seemed to transport shoppers to a world of luxury and refinement. The polished marble floors shimmered under the delicate lighting, and everything about the place radiated exclusivity. Maya glanced around, taking in the displays of exquisite jewelry and designer handbags. She was here to find a birthday present for her cousin Leah. Leah had been Maya's confidant, always there to lend a hand or a listening ear. This gift was a chance for Maya to show Leah just how much she valued her support, a meaningful token that reflected Leah's strength and elegance. As she moved toward a jewelry case, her footsteps made a soft, rhythmic tapping sound on the floor. Inside the case, sparkling necklaces and bracelets caught her eye, each piece intricately crafted to catch the light just right. Maya's gaze lingered on one particular bracelet with delicate silver links, imagining how perfectly it would suit Leah. Behind the counter, the store manager, Karen Brooks, observed Maya intently. Karen was a tall, poised woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense demeanor. She prided herself on running a tight ship and protecting the store's reputation. Karen had noticed Maya the moment she entered, though she couldn't pinpoint why. Something about Maya made her feel uneasy. Years in luxury retail had taught Karen to trust her gut instinct, and right now, her gut was telling her to be cautious. Karen signaled to Ben Adams, the security guard stationed near the entrance. Ben, who was dressed in the store's standard black security uniform, noticed Karen's signal and straightened up, catching her eye with a questioning glance. "Keep an eye on that woman," Karen whispered as she motioned subtly toward Maya. "Something doesn't feel right." Ben looked uncertain. "You sure? She seems like she's just shopping." Karen's expression tightened slightly. "That's how it always looks at first. Just stay alert." Ben nodded, though he couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling in his stomach. Following orders, he kept a careful watch on Maya, who was still completely unaware of the scrutiny. She continued browsing the jewelry, absorbed in the intricate designs on display. Maya lifted a delicate silver bracelet from the case, admiring its understated elegance and imagining how much Leah would appreciate the thoughtful gift. She was engrossed in her search for the perfect piece when she sensed a shift in the atmosphere around her. Looking up, she noticed Karen watching her from across the room. Their eyes met for a brief moment before Karen looked away, feigning interest in another display. A slight frown crossed Maya's face, but she tried to brush it off. After all, it wasn't unusual for staff in upscale stores to keep a watchful eye on customers. She resumed her search, shifting her attention to a nearby display of necklaces. Meanwhile, Karen stepped out from behind the counter with a determined expression. Ben, noticing her move, followed a few paces behind her, keeping his gaze fixed on Maya. Maya looked up as Karen approached, feeling a sudden wave of tension. "Good afternoon," Maya greeted Karen politely, trying to dispel the unease she felt. Karen returned a polite, though somewhat distant smile. "Good afternoon. May I help you find something in particular?" "Thank you, but I'm just looking for now," Maya replied, her tone friendly. "I'm here to find a special gift for my cousin." Karen's smile tightened slightly. "Of course. If you need assistance, just let me know." She lingered a moment longer than seemed necessary, her eyes briefly meeting Ben's as if in silent communication. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away. Watching her leave, Maya couldn't ignore the odd sensation that had settled in her stomach. Something about Karen's approach had felt off, almost accusatory. Trying to refocus, Maya selected a gold necklace to examine, unaware that Karen's suspicion was growing with every passing minute. To her, Maya's calm demeanor seemed almost practiced, a front to mask some ulterior motive she couldn't yet discern. As Karen returned to her position, she cast another wary glance at Maya, determined to stay alert to anything that might confirm her suspicion. The atmosphere, once serene and welcoming, now held an edge of tension. Maya continued browsing, her attention drawn to the fine craftsmanship of each necklace she encountered. She was oblivious to the intensified scrutiny from Karen, who had now stationed herself closer to Maya, her expression a mix of suspicion and vigilance. As Maya lifted a delicate gold pendant to admire its design, Karen's doubts flared up further. To her, Maya's steady calm appeared suspicious, as if she were attempting to mask something. Karen's intuition, though ungrounded, convinced her that she was dealing with a potential problem. Karen called over to Ben quietly. "I think we might need to intervene soon," she said, her voice low but firm. Ben looked at Karen, surprised. "Intervene? But she hasn't done anything. She's just looking." Karen's eyes narrowed slightly, dismissing his concern. "That's what they all look like before they try something. Just stay close." Ben hesitated but nodded, positioning himself near the display case as Maya continued to examine the jewelry. He felt uneasy about the situation, but decided it was easier to follow Karen's orders than to argue. Feeling the weight of Karen and Ben's gaze, Maya glanced up and saw Karen approaching her with a determined look. Instantly, a flicker of unease crept up her spine. She hadn't done anything wrong, yet the look in Karen's eyes made her feel oddly self-conscious and on edge. "Ma'am," Karen said, her voice clipped and professional, "I need to ask you to come with me for a moment." Maya blinked, caught off guard. "Is there a problem?" she asked, trying to keep her tone calm. Karen's face remained unreadable. "We have reason to believe that you may have taken something from the store." Maya's mouth dropped in shock. "Taken something? I haven't taken anything. I'm just browsing like any other customer," she said, her voice rising in confusion and disbelief. Unfazed, Karen crossed her arms, her expression stern. "We follow strict protocol here at Luxmart. If there's nothing to hide, this will be over quickly. Please come with me." As Maya glanced around, she noticed that other shoppers had begun to stare, their expressions a mix of curiosity and judgment. Embarrassment and frustration welled up within her as she realized she was being accused, without any evidence, of something she hadn't done. "This is ridiculous," Maya said, her voice tense. "I came here to buy a gift, not to be treated like a criminal." Karen's response was icy. "We can discuss this privately," she replied, nodding toward the back of the store. "If you refuse to cooperate, I'll have Ben escort you out of the store. It's your choice." Maya felt her heart pounding, a mix of disbelief and indignation swirling inside her. She hadn't done anything wrong, yet she was being accused as if she were guilty. Swallowing her pride, she took a deep breath. "Fine," she said through gritted teeth, "but I want a witness present. I won't let you treat me like this without someone else seeing what's going on." Karen nodded, her expression unyielding. "That can be arranged." She turned sharply and led the way, with Ben motioning for Maya to follow. Maya walked behind them, feeling every eye in the store on her as she moved. She could hear hushed whispers and curious glances from other shoppers, which made her skin crawl. As they reached a small office at the back of the store, Maya felt a heavy sense of dread settle over her. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong, but being treated this way felt deeply unsettling. Inside the office, Karen gestured toward a chair, signaling for Maya to sit down. The room was small, with a desk, a couple of chairs, and a locked cabinet along one wall. Ben stood by the door, looking uncomfortable as he averted his gaze. "Now," Karen said, leaning against the desk with an authoritative stance, "I need you to empty your pockets and open your bag." Maya clenched her fists, weighing her options. She could refuse or demand to speak to a lawyer, but the thought of prolonging this humiliating ordeal made her feel sick. Reluctantly, she reached into her pockets, removing her phone, a tube of lip balm, and her keys, setting them on the desk with deliberate, controlled movements. She then opened her bag, revealing a wallet, a notebook, and a pair of sunglasses. Karen scrutinized Maya's belongings, her eyes searching for anything that could justify her accusation. Maya felt a surge of anger as she watched Karen examining her personal items, searching for evidence of a crime that didn't exist. After a tense silence, Karen straightened, clearly having found nothing of interest. Maya's voice trembled with restrained anger as she spoke. "As I told you, I didn't take anything. I was here to shop, nothing more." Karen's face softened ever so slightly, though her tone remained cold. "Maybe not this time, but we take security seriously here. Our customers expect a certain standard." Maya stood up, gathering her belongings. She shot Karen a piercing look. "No, this isn't about security," she said quietly. "It's about profiling. You saw me, and you assumed I didn't belong. Karen's expression hardened, but Maya refused to back down. With a final glance, she turned and left, her dignity bruised, but her spirit resolute. As Maya stepped out of Luxmart, she took a deep breath, letting the cool evening air calm her racing heart. The encounter replayed in her mind, Karen's cold, scrutinizing gaze, the humiliation of being accused without evidence, and the uncomfortable, judgmental stares of other customers. She felt violated, as if her dignity had been stripped away in a matter of minutes. Her hands were still trembling as she pulled out her phone and dialed Leah's number. When Leah answered, her voice was filled with warmth and familiarity, but Maya's voice broke slightly as she greeted her cousin. "Leah, I need to talk. Something happened." Concern instantly filled Leah's tone. "Maya, are you all right? What happened?" Maya looked back at the store, its glass facade glimmering under the streetlights, giving no hint of the unpleasant experience she had just endured. "I went into Luxmart to look for a birthday gift for you," she began, her voice shaking as she recounted the details. "And they accused me of shoplifting, Leah. They pulled me aside and made me empty my bag, my pockets, right there in their back office. I've never felt so humiliated." There was a brief silence as Leah processed what Maya had told her, and then her voice came through, firm and resolute. "That's outrageous, Maya. You didn't do anything wrong, and they had no right to treat you that way. We need to do something about this." Maya sighed, feeling the weight of her frustration and helplessness. "But what can we do? They'll just say it was protocol, that they were doing their job. It's their word against mine." Leah's tone was unyielding. "We can file a complaint, a formal one, and if they don't take it seriously, we can go further. We could file a lawsuit. They can't keep getting away with this kind of treatment. It's not just wrong, it's illegal." Maya's mind raced at the thought of filing a lawsuit. It sounded intimidating, almost impossible, yet the memory of what she had just gone through strengthened her resolve. This wasn't only about her. It was about standing up to a system that assumed guilt based on appearances. "You really think we can make a difference?" Maya asked quietly, barely daring to hope. "I know we can," Leah replied confidently. "You're not alone in this, Maya. I'm with you, and I'm sure there are others who have gone through similar experiences. This isn't just a one-time incident. It's a pattern, and it needs to be stopped." A sense of relief washed over Maya, and for the first time since leaving Luxmart, she felt a spark of hope. "Thank you, Leah. I don't know what I'd do without you." Leah's voice softened. "You don't have to go through this alone. I'll come by tonight, and we'll go over everything together. We'll figure this out." After ending the call, Maya stood for a moment, watching people pass by on the busy street, each one absorbed in their own world. Taking another deep breath, she turned and made her way back to her car. The resolve Leah had sparked within her gave her strength. She wasn't just going to let this go. Later that evening, Maya sat on her living room sofa, nursing a cup of tea as she waited for Leah to arrive. The apartment was silent except for the ticking of the wall clock, and Maya's thoughts kept circling back to the events of the day. The indignation she felt had only grown stronger, turning from frustration into determination. A knock at the door pulled her out of her thoughts. She opened it to find Leah standing there, a determined expression on her face. In her hand, she carried a notepad and a folder filled with documents. "Hey," Leah said, stepping inside and giving Maya a quick hug. "How are you holding up?" Maya shrugged, closing the door behind them. "Better now that you're here. I'm still angry, though. I can't believe they did that." Leah nodded. Her expression is sympathetic yet resolute. "I completely understand, but that's why we need to approach this strategically. I brought some materials we can use to start drafting a complaint. We'll document everything." They moved to the dining table, where Leah opened her folder and pulled out her notepad. As she began jotting down notes, Maya recounted every moment, every word exchanged with Karen and Ben, her anger resurfacing as she relived the experience. "You handled yourself well," Leah noted, glancing up from her notes. "You kept calm and didn't escalate things, which is important. It shows you were cooperative and that their actions were completely unjustified." Maya scoffed. "I didn't feel calm. I felt humiliated, like everyone was judging me. Karen was so certain, so sure that I was up to something. It's like she couldn't see me as a real person, just some stereotype she needed to keep an eye on. Leah's eyes narrowed in understanding. Exactly. That's why this lawsuit is necessary, Maya. This isn't just about LuxSmart. It's about challenging a mindset, a pattern of behavior that affects so many people. It's about making them see the harm their assumptions cause. Maya nodded, her determination solidifying. You're right. Let's do this. Whatever it takes, I don't want this happening to anyone else. Leah smiled, proud of her cousin's strength. That's the spirit. We'll start by drafting a formal complaint, and I'll reach out to a few colleagues who might help with the legal side. I'll also contact some advocacy groups for additional support. The more voices we have, the stronger our case. As they strategized, Maya felt her frustration transform into purpose. This was no longer just about a single incident. It was about challenging the way people were treated and standing. The next morning, Maya woke up with a sense of determination that overpowered the frustration of the day before. She sat at her kitchen table with her laptop, ready to put her thoughts and feelings into words. Leah had suggested she write a personal statement to capture the full impact of her experience, not only as part of the formal complaint, but also to strengthen their case. As Maya opened a new document, she took a deep breath and began typing. Yesterday, I walked into LuxSmart to find a birthday gift for my cousin, Leah. I wanted something special, a symbol of my gratitude for all the support she's given me over the years. Instead, I found myself accused of theft by the store manager, Karen Brooks. Without evidence, she confronted me, ordered me to the back office, and demanded that I empty my pockets and show her the contents of my bag. At that moment, I felt humiliated. I felt small and powerless. It was as if my dignity had been stripped away in front of the other customers who watched, whispering and judging. I couldn't help but ask myself, why me? What had I done to deserve such treatment? And then I realized that it wasn't about what I did. It was about how I looked. They saw me and assumed that I didn't belong. I wasn't seen as Maya Thompson, a law graduate and a sister, a daughter and a friend. I was seen as a threat, something they needed to control. This experience didn't just hurt me. It was a harsh reminder of how quickly my humanity could be dismissed based on assumptions. I refused to let this incident define me as a victim. Instead, I'm choosing to speak up, to stand against this mindset that says people can be humiliated and judged based on appearances. I want LuxSmart to understand the impact of their actions and change their policies so that no one else has to experience what I did. Bookmark. Maya paused, reading over her words. They felt right, raw, and honest, capturing the anger, the hurt, and the resolve that had carried her through the night. She saved the document and sent it to Leah, along with a message saying she had completed her statement. Feeling more focused, Maya began scrolling through her contacts, thinking about who might have had similar experiences. Leah had suggested gathering testimonies from others who felt mistreated or judged unfairly at LuxSmart or similar places, as it would strengthen their case. By early afternoon, Maya had spoken to 3 friends. One friend, Tasha, recalled an experience where she had felt constantly watched by staff at a different high-end store, though they hadn't confronted her. It was like they were expecting me to do something wrong, Tasha told Maya over the phone. It felt like they didn't want me there, even though I was a paying customer. Another friend, Carla, said she had stopped shopping at upscale stores entirely. I always feel out of place, Carla admitted. It's like they don't say it outright, but you can feel it. The way they look at you, the way they don't offer help unless they're sure you're going to spend a lot of money, it's subtle, but it's there. Hearing her friend's experiences validated Maya's own feelings. This wasn't just an isolated incident, it was part of a larger issue, a deep-rooted bias that permeated many high-end spaces. She thanked her friends for their insights and hung up, her sense of purpose growing stronger with every conversation. Later in the afternoon, Maya received a message from Leah saying she had contacted a civil rights organization interested in their case. The organization offered to provide additional legal support and help amplify Maya's story if it went public. That evening, Leah came over again, and they sat together at the kitchen table, reviewing Maya's statement and discussing the responses from her friends. Leah's eyes shone with determination as she read over Maya's words. "This is strong, Maya," Leah said, nodding approvingly. "Your words have power. And this statement shows exactly how their actions impacted you. And with the support from the civil rights organization, we're building a solid foundation for this case. We're not just pushing for an apology, we're pushing for real, meaningful change." Maya's resolve hardened. "What's our next step?" she asked, eager to move forward. "We'll file the formal complaint first," Leah explained, "and we'll see how Luxmart responds. If they ignore it or try to dismiss us, we'll escalate. We'll take it to the media if we have to. Our goal is to make this public enough that they can't sweep it under the rug." A flicker of anxiety crossed Maya's face at the thought of going public. But she knew it was a necessary step. "I'm ready," she said firmly. "Whatever it takes, I don't want to back down from this." Leah reached across the table, giving Maya's hand a reassuring squeeze. "You're doing the right thing, Maya. And remember, you're not alone in this. We're going to make them see us, really see us." Maya nodded, feeling a sense of solidarity with Leah. Together, they were fighting not just for personal justice, but for the dignity and respect of everyone who had ever been judged unfairly. As they continued to strategize, Maya felt a strength she hadn't felt in a long time. This was more than just a response to an incident. It was a step toward real change. The following morning, Maya woke with a renewed sense of purpose. The anxiety from the previous day had transformed into resolve, and she was ready to move forward. She checked her messages and saw a text from Leah. "Meeting with the civil rights attorney is set for tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll pick you up at 9:30. Let's get started on the next steps." Reading Leah's message filled Maya with a sense of relief and anticipation. She knew that having an experienced attorney on her side would help ground their case, and she felt grateful for Leah's determination and support. As promised, Leah arrived at 9:30 the next morning. Maya, dressed in a simple but professional outfit, got into Leah's car, and they headed downtown to meet the attorney. The drive was filled with discussions about their goals, their strategy, and the specific changes they hoped to achieve. When they arrived, the office building was modest but professional, tucked into a bustling part of the city's business district. They headed up to the second floor, where the civil rights organization's office was located. The attorney, Linda Parker, greeted them in the reception area, a woman in her late 40s with a warm smile, short curly hair, and an air of confidence that immediately put Maya at ease. "Maya, Leah, thank you for coming in," Linda said, shaking their hands. "Please, follow me." They walked down a hallway to a meeting room, where a table was set up with folders and documents. Linda gestured for them to sit down. "I've reviewed the details Leah sent me," Linda began, her voice calm but serious. "And first of all, I want to say that I'm sorry you experienced this, Maya. No one should be treated that way, especially in a place that should be welcoming to all customers. You have a strong case here, and we're going to make sure Luxmart understands the seriousness of their actions." Maya felt a wave of relief and validation at Linda's words. "Thank you," she said softly. I never thought that something like this would happen. I went in there like any other customer, and they just assumed the worst." Linda nodded empathetically. "It's an unfortunate reality that many people face, and that's exactly why cases like yours are so important. We're going to address this head-on. We'll start by filing the formal complaint with Luxmart's corporate office, and I'll help draft the legal documents. Today we'll outline what we're asking for: a formal apology, policy changes, and mandatory sensitivity training for their staff." Leah's voice was firm as she spoke up. "And if they refuse or try to brush it off?" Linda smiled slightly, a determined look in her eyes. "Then we escalate. We're prepared to file a lawsuit if necessary, and we'll bring in the media to raise awareness. Companies like Luxmart care about their public image, so the threat of negative press often pushes them to take action. I've also reached out to a few journalists who focus on civil rights issues. They're interested in your story, Maya." The thought of going public with her story was daunting, but Maya knew it was the best way to push for real change. She took a deep breath, determination filling her voice. "I'm ready. I want people to know what happened, and I want them to see that this isn't an isolated incident." Linda gave her an approving nod. "Good. We'll be with you every step of the way." Today, let's work on getting the complaint ready. I want you to go over every detail and tell me everything you remember. This will help us strengthen the case. For the next hour, they reviewed Maya's personal statement, gathered details from her experience, and outlined specific demands. Linda assured them that with testimonies from Maya's friends who had experienced similar situations, they were building a compelling case that would be hard for LuxSmart to ignore. By the time they left Linda's office, Maya felt a renewed sense of empowerment. They had a plan, a strategy, and a strong legal advocate. She wasn't just reacting to what had happened. She was actively shaping the outcome, fighting back for herself and others. The next few days were filled with preparations. Linda filed the formal complaint with LuxSmart's corporate office, outlining the demands for an apology, policy revisions, and mandatory training. Meanwhile, Leah and Maya prepared for any potential responses and strategized with Linda on how they would move forward depending on the store's reaction. One afternoon, Leah called Maya with an update. "Good news," Leah said, her excitement evident in her voice. "A reporter from the City Chronicle is interested in covering the story. They think this case could shed light on the issue of racial profiling in retail. How do you feel about going public?" Maya felt a flutter of nerves, but she steadied herself. "It's a little scary," she admitted, "but I think it's important. If it helps bring attention to this issue, then I'm willing to do it. I want people to understand how damaging these assumptions can be." Leah's tone was filled with encouragement. "You're brave, Maya. You're turning something painful into a chance to make a difference. We'll prepare together. Linda can join us for the interview, so you won't be alone." 2 days later, Maya found herself sitting in a quiet cafe, waiting for the reporter from the City Chronicle. Leah and Linda sat beside her, offering moral support. Taking a deep breath, Maya felt the weight of the moment. She had agreed to use her real name, knowing that it would make a greater impact if she stood openly behind her story. The reporter, a young woman named Sarah Yu, arrived with a notebook and a recorder. She introduced herself, expressing her sympathy for Maya's experience, and then turned on the recorder to begin the interview. "Maya, can you walk me through what happened that day at LuxSmart?" Sarah asked gently, her voice encouraging. Maya nodded, gathering her thoughts. She spoke about the suspicion, the accusation, the search, and the profound humiliation she felt. Her voice was steady, but she could feel the rawness of those emotions surfacing as she recounted each moment. The reporter listened attentively, jotting down notes as Maya continued. When Sarah asked, "How did that experience impact you?" Maya felt a surge of determination. "It made me feel invisible, like my dignity didn't matter," Maya said quietly. "They saw a stereotype instead of a person. And I know I'm not alone in this. This issue, racial profiling, affects so many people, and it has to stop." As she looked around the cafe, Maya knew this was only the beginning. She had shared her story, and now it was time for LuxSmart to respond. A few days passed after the interview, and Maya tried her best to focus on her daily life. Yet the waiting was nerve-wracking. Each morning, she checked her phone and email, hoping for an update from Linda. The uncertainty hung over her like a dark cloud, making it hard to concentrate on anything else. Leah called often to check in, offering support and encouragement, which Maya deeply appreciated. But despite Leah's reassurance, Maya couldn't shake the lingering anxiety. She had opened up about a deeply personal experience, and now the outcome depended on how LuxSmart would respond. Then, one morning, just as Maya was finishing breakfast, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and saw Linda's name. Her heart raced as she quickly answered, her hands trembling slightly. "Good morning, Maya," Linda greeted her, her voice calm and professional. "I have some news. LuxSmart's corporate office has responded." Maya felt her pulse quicken. "What did they say?" she asked, barely daring to breathe. Linda paused briefly. "They're offering to meet our demands," she said. "They're willing to issue a formal public apology, and they've agreed to implement mandatory sensitivity training for their employees. They'll also revise their security protocols to ensure that all customers are treated with respect, regardless of appearance." A wave of relief washed over Maya as she took in Linda's words. "They're agreeing to all of it?" "Yes," Linda confirmed. "They understand that this situation has attracted media attention and that there's potential for legal action. They've decided it's in their best interest to address the issue openly. They've requested a press conference where they can publicly issue the apology, and they want you to be there, Maya. They want to acknowledge your courage and use this opportunity to show their commitment to change. Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes as the weight of Linda's words sank in. After everything she had endured, knowing that her fight had led to real change felt both overwhelming and empowering. I don't know what to say, she managed, her voice breaking. I didn't think they'd actually listen. Linda's tone softened. They're listening, Maya. And it's because of your courage. This isn't just a win for you, it's a victory for everyone who's ever been judged or mistreated because of their appearance. You should be proud of yourself. This kind of change doesn't happen easily. Maya took a deep, steadying breath, trying to hold back her emotions. When is the press conference? They want to hold it tomorrow afternoon, Linda replied. Leah and I will both be there with you. You'll have the chance to speak if you want, but only if you're comfortable with it. This is your moment, Maya, so it's entirely up to you. Maya nodded, even though Linda couldn't see her. I want to speak, she said firmly. I want them to understand why this matters. Absolutely, Linda replied, sounding pleased. I'll send you all the details, and we'll prepare a bit beforehand to make sure everything goes smoothly. You've got this, Maya. As she ended the call, Maya felt a sense of calm settle over her. She had faced so much since that day at LuxMart, and now she was standing on the brink of meaningful change. Her story would be heard, and the changes she'd fought for would help others avoid the same pain. Bookmark. Go back. The next afternoon, Maya stood outside LuxMart, the same store where her ordeal had taken place. A podium had been set up in front of the entrance, surrounded by reporters, cameras, and a small crowd of onlookers. A banner bearing the store's name hung above the doors, almost like a silent reminder of the day that had sparked her fight for justice. Leah stood beside her, a supportive hand on her shoulder. Are you okay? She asked softly, noticing Maya's nervous expression. Maya took a deep breath, her heart racing. Yeah, just a little nervous. I've never done anything like this before. You'll be amazing, Leah reassured her with a warm smile. Just speak from the heart like you did with the reporter. This is your moment, and you've earned it. Linda approached, holding a folder with notes and a look of encouragement. Maya, the CEO of LuxMart, Mr. George Anderson, will begin with an apology. After that, it's your turn. Just remember, you don't have to say anything you're uncomfortable with. We're all here for you. Maya looked at both Leah and Linda, feeling a surge of gratitude. Thank you, both of you. I couldn't have done this without you. A few minutes later, George Anderson, the CEO of LuxMart, stepped up to the podium. He was a tall man in his 50s with a serious expression. The cameras flashed as he adjusted the microphone and began his statement. Good afternoon, everyone, he started, his voice solemn. My name is George Anderson, CEO of LuxMart. I want to begin by addressing the incident that took place on September 8th involving Ms. Maya Thompson. On that day, Ms. Thompson was unfairly accused of shoplifting, detained, and searched without any evidence. This was a serious mistake, and it caused Ms. Thompson significant distress and humiliation. Maya listened intently, her emotions swirling as George continued. The apology was sincere, but she knew it couldn't undo what had happened. Still, hearing it acknowledged in front of so many people felt like a step in the right direction. LuxMart is committed to ensuring that all our customers feel respected and valued, George went on. We recognize that our actions were influenced by biases that have no place in our stores. Going forward, we will implement mandatory sensitivity training for all employees, and we will revise our security policies to prevent incidents like this from happening again. We apologize deeply to Ms. Thompson and thank her for her courage in bringing this issue to light. As he stepped aside, George looked directly at Maya, his expression earnest. Miss Thompson, on behalf of LuxMart, I offer my deepest apologies. Your courage has prompted us to reflect on our values and make necessary changes. Thank you for helping us become better. The crowd murmured in agreement, and Maya felt a lump rise in her throat as George gestured for her to take the podium. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, facing the cameras and the crowd. This was the moment she had fought for, the moment she would make her voice heard. Maya took a steadying breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her as she faced the crowd. The cameras pointed at her, and an expectant hush fell. She clutched the edge of the podium, letting her words form as she looked out at the sea of faces. This was her chance to convey the importance of what had happened, not just for her but for others who faced similar judgments every day. "Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for your apology and for committing to change," Maya began, her voice steady though she felt a wave of emotion rising within her. "I came here that day to buy a gift, to celebrate someone I love. But instead, I was treated like a criminal. I was judged, not by my actions, but by my appearance. That kind of judgment and profiling is deeply harmful, and it has to stop." She paused, letting her words settle into the silence around her. "I didn't want to be here today because of what happened to me," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "But I am here because I believe in change. I believe that by standing up and saying, 'This isn't right,' we can create a world where people are seen and respected for who they are, not for the assumptions others make about them." Maya's gaze swept across the crowd, her heart pounding as she allowed herself to speak directly to those listening, hoping her message would reach beyond this moment. "This isn't just about me. This is about everyone who's ever felt judged unfairly. Anyone who's been made to feel like they don't belong just because of how they look. Every person deserves dignity, respect, and the freedom to walk into a store without fear of being judged." She felt a swell of emotion but kept her voice strong. "Together, we can make a difference. We can challenge the biases that lead to these incidents and create spaces where everyone feels welcome, valued, and safe." A soft murmur went through the crowd, and Maya caught a few nods of agreement. She looked back at Mr. Anderson, then at the cameras, hoping her words would resonate with others who had experienced the same silent judgment. "Thank you," she finished, stepping back from the podium. The crowd erupted into applause, and Maya felt a surge of relief and accomplishment wash over her. She had spoken her truth, and she knew her words had been heard. As she stepped away from the podium, Leah and Linda smiled at her, pride shining in their eyes. Mr. Anderson approached Maya, extending his hand. "Thank you, Miss Thompson," he said sincerely, his voice filled with respect. "Your courage has helped us realize the changes we need to make. We're committed to following through." Maya shook his hand, her expression firm yet calm. "Thank you for listening. I hope this is just the beginning." The press conference wrapped up shortly afterward, and reporters gathered around Maya, eager to ask questions. Linda and Leah helped navigate the sea of inquiries, ensuring Maya wasn't overwhelmed. Maya answered a few of the questions, emphasizing the importance of addressing racial profiling and pushing for continued awareness of this issue. She spoke not just for herself, but for others who couldn't be there to share their experiences. As the crowd finally began to disperse, Maya felt a deep sense of exhaustion mixed with exhilaration. She had taken a stand and demanded accountability, and LuxSmart had responded. Her journey wasn't just a personal battle, it was now part of a larger movement toward dignity and respect for all. Leah hugged Maya tightly. "You were amazing. I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You didn't just make them listen, you made them understand." Linda nodded in agreement. "This is how real change begins. You've shown others that they can stand up too." Maya managed a small, grateful smile. "Thank you both for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." They left LuxSmart together, the sun shining brightly overhead as they walked down the street. The weight of the day began to lift, and Maya felt a peace settle over her. She had been wronged, yes, but she had turned that pain into purpose. This was more than just one victory, it was a step forward, a step toward creating a better environment for others. Over the next week, Maya felt the effects of the press conference ripple through her life. News outlets covered her story, shedding light on the broader issue of racial profiling in retail spaces. Messages began to pour in from people who had experienced similar situations, sharing their support and gratitude for her courage. Each story she read gave her a deeper sense of purpose. She knew she had done something meaningful, something that would help others feel less alone. One morning, as Maya was reading through the latest messages, her phone rang. She recognized Linda's number and quickly picked up. "Good morning, Maya," Linda greeted her. I have some follow-up news. LuxSmart has sent over a formal letter detailing the changes they're implementing. They've committed to long-term training, policy revisions, and ongoing work with civil rights organizations, and they want to stay in contact with us to ensure these changes are effective. Maya felt a surge of satisfaction. That's wonderful news, Linda. It feels like we really made a difference. Linda's tone was warm. You absolutely did, Maya. LuxSmart is now setting an example for other stores to follow, and it's all because you had the courage to speak up. You've made an impact, not just for yourself, but for everyone who faces these kinds of challenges. Maya took a deep breath, letting the reality of the accomplishment sink in. She felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt since the incident. What had started as a painful experience had transformed into an opportunity to create meaningful change. And in that moment, she realized that her voice, her story, had the power to make a difference. A few days after receiving the news from Linda, Maya felt the weight of the journey she had undertaken begin to ease. Life seemed to be settling back into a comfortable rhythm, and although she knew the work was far from over, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in weeks. Her story had sparked change, and LuxSmart had committed to reforms. For the first time in a long time, Maya felt the burden of that day begins to lift. Then, one afternoon, as Maya sat at her kitchen table catching up on work emails, her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but she answered, curious who might be calling. "Hello," she said, her voice tentative. There was a pause on the other end before a familiar voice replied, a hint of nervousness in its tone. "Maya? This is Ben Adams, the security guard from LuxSmart." Maya's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected to hear from Ben, the same guard who had followed Karen's orders without question that day. "Ben, why are you calling me?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and curiosity. Ben hesitated, then sighed. "I know this is unexpected, but I felt like I needed to talk to you. I've been thinking about what happened, and I can't shake the feeling that I owe you an apology. I know I didn't handle things right that day, and I want you to know I'm truly sorry." Maya listened in silence, processing his words. She hadn't considered that he might feel remorse over his actions, but she could hear the sincerity in his voice. "Why didn't you say something then?" she asked softly. "You saw what Karen was doing, and you knew it wasn't right." Ben sighed again, and Maya could hear the regret in his tone. "I know, and it haunts me. But I was scared. Karen, she had a lot of authority, and I didn't want to risk my job. I have a family to support. I know that's not an excuse, but I felt like I was caught in a no-win situation. I've been carrying that guilt since the day it happened." Maya's feelings were conflicted. Part of her still felt anger and disappointment, but she could also sense his genuine remorse. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of the importance of empathy and understanding. "I understand, Ben," she replied finally, her voice steady. "But you need to realize that staying silent only allowed the harm to continue. Sometimes, doing the right thing means taking risks." "I know," Ben replied quietly, "and I'm trying to make it right now. If this case goes any further, or if there's ever an investigation, I want to help. I want to testify if needed. I'll tell the truth about what happened, about the orders Karen gave me. It's the least I can do to try to make up for my part in all of this." Maya's heart softened at his offer. His testimony could make a significant difference if they ever needed to pursue further action, and it also showed her that people could recognize their mistakes and choose to change. "All right, Ben," she said, her tone calmer now. "If you're willing to testify, it could really help. I'll let Linda know that you're open to that." Ben sounded relieved. "Thank you, Maya. I know I can't undo what happened, but I want to help. I'll be ready if you need me." They ended the call, and Maya sat in silence, processing the conversation. She still felt the sting of that day, but knowing that even one person involved was willing to stand up for the truth gave her a flicker of hope. Bookmark, go back. Later that day, Maya met with Leah at a nearby coffee shop to discuss the latest developments. As they sipped their drinks, Maya recounted her unexpected conversation with Ben, watching Leah's reaction closely. "So Ben wants to testify?" Leah asked, eyebrows raised in surprise. "Yes," Maya replied. "He said he feels guilty for following Karen's orders and wants to help make things right. He's willing to back up my story if we ever need to escalate this case." Leah nodded thoughtfully. That's significant. Having someone on the inside, someone who witnessed everything and is willing to admit it was wrong, could really support our case. It shows there were doubts among the staff about what Karen did. Maya felt a sense of relief hearing Leah's approval. Do you think his testimony will be enough? It's definitely a strong addition, Leah said, but we still need to prepare ourselves for anything LuxMart might throw at us. They could try to dismiss it as just one person's opinion. But if we stay focused on the bigger picture, policy changes, training, accountability, we'll be able to make a solid case. Maya nodded, her determination returning. You're right. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone who's ever felt that judgment based on their appearance. I want to make sure our voices are heard. Leah smiled, her eyes filled with pride. That's exactly the mindset we need. You're doing an amazing job, Maya. This is how change happens, one step at a time, with people willing to stand up and say, enough is enough. They spent the next hour discussing strategy and mapping out their approach for the next steps. Maya felt her purpose strengthen as they talked. She knew she wasn't only fighting for her own justice but for a larger cause, pushing for a world where people were judged by their character, not by their appearance. As they wrapped up, Maya's phone buzzed with a message. It was from Linda, their attorney. Meeting with LuxMart's representatives scheduled for Friday at 2 p.m. Let's make sure we're ready. Maya showed Leah the message, and they exchanged determined glances. Let's do this, Maya said firmly, her resolve unwavering. Let's make them see us, really see us. They left the coffee shop with renewed purpose, ready to face whatever came their way. As Maya walked home, she felt the weight of her mission, but for the first time, she truly believed that change was possible, and she was ready to be part of it. Friday afternoon arrived, bringing with it a sense of anticipation and tension. Maya stood outside the office building where her meeting with LuxMart's representatives was scheduled. Her heart beat faster than usual as she smoothed down her navy blazer, trying to calm herself. Leah was beside her, dressed sharply in a business suit and radiating confidence. She placed a reassuring hand on Maya's shoulder. You look great, Leah said with a supportive smile. Are you okay? You seem a bit nervous. Maya took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay composed. I'm all right. It just feels so real now, you know? I'm actually about to face them. Leah nodded, her tone understanding. I get it, but remember, you're not alone. We have the truth on our side, and Linda is one of the best. We're ready for this. Maya nodded, feeling a surge of strength from Leah's words. You're right. Let's do this. They entered the building and took the elevator up to the conference room on the 3rd floor. Inside, Linda was already seated at the long table, going over some documents. She looked up as Maya and Leah entered, offering them a warm, confident smile. Right on time, Linda said, gesturing for them to sit. I've prepared an agenda for today. Remember, our goal is to make them acknowledge what happened and agree to our demands: an apology, policy changes, and mandatory sensitivity training. Stay focused, stay calm, and let me handle most of the talking. Maya, you'll have a chance to share your experience, but I'll guide you through it. Maya nodded, feeling more grounded by Linda's steady presence. She glanced around the room, noticing the clean, professional decor and the large window overlooking the city. It was a far cry from the back office at LuxMart, where she had been questioned, but the tension in the air felt similar. A moment later, the door opened, and 3 people entered. Maya instantly recognized Karen Brooks, the store manager, dressed in a sleek black suit. Her expression was guarded, and Maya could see a flicker of discomfort in her eyes. Accompanying her were 2 men, one, the store's district manager, a tall, serious-looking man with graying hair named Robert Lee, and the other, a young lawyer with a briefcase, introduced as Mark Chen, representing LuxMart. Linda stood to shake hands. Good afternoon, she greeted them, her tone professional yet firm. I'm Linda Parker, representing Miss Maya Thompson. This is Ms. Leah Harris, a key supporter in our case, and of course Ms. Thompson herself. The district manager, Robert Lee, returned the greeting with a polite but businesslike nod. Good afternoon, I'm Robert Lee, the district manager. This is Karen Brooks, our store manager, and Mark Chen, representing LuxMart. Shall we get started? They all took their seats, facing each other across the table. The atmosphere was thick with formality, both sides assessing each other carefully. Linda began, her voice calm and unwavering. "We're here to address the incident on September 8th at LuxSmart involving my client, Miss Thompson. As you know, she was accused of shoplifting without evidence, detained, and searched. This caused her significant emotional distress and humiliation. We believe this action was motivated by racial profiling, and we are seeking a formal apology, policy changes, and sensitivity training for all staff to prevent such incidents from occurring in the future." Mark Chen, the lawyer for LuxSmart, leaned forward slightly. "Ms. Parker, LuxSmart maintains that the actions taken by our staff were in line with our standard security procedures to ensure store safety. We do not engage in racial profiling, and any accusations suggesting otherwise are unfounded." Maya felt a surge of anger but kept her expression calm, prepared for the expected denial. Linda, however, remained unshaken. "Standard procedures do not justify targeting a customer based solely on appearance," Linda replied firmly. "Miss Thompson was detained without cause, no stolen items were found, and there was no behavior to suggest theft. The only factor prompting suspicion seemed to be her race." Additionally, we have statements from LuxSmart employees, including the security guard, Ben Adams, who will testify that he observed no suspicious behavior from Miss Thompson and felt pressured by Ms. Brooks to act. Karen shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her eyes flicking to Maya for a moment before looking away. Maya held Karen's gaze, her expression steady, wanting her to feel the weight of her actions. Robert Lee glanced at Karen and then at Mark Chen, his tone cautious. "We understand the seriousness of these allegations, Miss Parker, and we are open to discussing solutions. However, we cannot admit to racial profiling when our staff was merely following protocol." Maya's frustration grew as she realized they were trying to sidestep accountability, offering vague reassurances without taking responsibility. She decided it was time to speak up. "With all due respect," Maya said, her voice calm but firm, "this isn't just about following protocol. It's about how those protocols are applied. I was treated like a criminal because of my appearance. That's not just a policy issue. It's discrimination, and it's harmful." Karen's expression shifted uncomfortably, and Maya pressed on, addressing the room. "I didn't do anything wrong. I walked into LuxSmart to shop just like any other customer. But instead of seeing me as a person, you saw me as a threat. That's why we're here today, because this kind of treatment is not acceptable, and it needs to change." A silence filled the room as her words settled. Linda gave Maya an encouraging nod, and Maya felt a surge of validation. Mark Chen cleared his throat, glancing at Robert and Karen. "We understand that this situation has caused Miss Thompson distress, and we are open to discussing a potential settlement. However, we must clarify that any settlement would be offered without admission of wrongdoing." Linda's expression remained resolute. "We're not here just for a settlement. We're here for accountability and change. Our demands are clear: a commitment to new policies that prevent profiling, mandatory sensitivity training for staff, and a public apology. Those terms are non-negotiable." Robert exchanged a look with Karen and Mark, then nodded slowly. "We'll take these demands under advisement and consult with our corporate office before making any commitments. However, I want to assure you that LuxSmart is committed to creating a welcoming environment for all customers." Linda's voice was steady as she replied, "We expect a response within the week. If we don't see a commitment to change, we're prepared to file a formal lawsuit and involve the media. This isn't just about one person's experience. It's about preventing this from happening to anyone else." The meeting ended with a tense silence, but as they left the conference room, Maya felt a mixture of relief and resolve. They had made their demands clear, and now it was LuxSmart's turn to respond. That evening, Maya and Leah returned to Maya's apartment, the weight of the meeting still hanging in the air. Linda had left after assuring them that she would handle all further communications with LuxSmart's representatives. Though the day had been exhausting, Maya felt a sense of satisfaction. They had stood firm, demanded accountability, and left LuxSmart with no option but to confront the impact of their actions. Leah poured them each a glass of water and sat beside Maya on the couch. "How do you feel?" she asked, studying Maya's expression closely. Maya let out a long sigh, her shoulders relaxing for the first time since the meeting. Honestly, I'm tired, but I feel hopeful. I think we made them listen, or at least I hope we did. They know they can't just ignore this. Leah nodded, a proud smile on her face. You were incredible in there, Maya. You spoke your truth, and I could see it made an impact. They know they're facing someone who won't back down, and having Ben's testimony only strengthened our case. It shows that even their own staff saw the flaws in what happened that day. Maya managed a small, grateful smile. I'm glad Ben stepped forward. It adds weight to everything we've been saying, but part of me still wishes they would just admit they were wrong. Leah reached out, giving Maya's hand a reassuring squeeze. They will. We'll keep pushing until they do. And even if they don't say it outright, we're going to make sure they change. That's what matters in the end. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the exhaustion from the day settle in. You're right. It's about the change, not just the words. We're doing this for everyone who's ever felt judged unfairly. I don't want anyone else to go through what I did. Leah nodded, her voice filled with warmth and encouragement. And because of you, fewer people will. What you're doing is powerful, Maya. This is how we create real, lasting change. They spent the rest of the evening discussing their next steps, outlining a plan for different responses LuxSmart might send. Although it was a waiting game now, both of them were prepared to face whatever came their way. Maya's resolve had grown even stronger, and with Leah's support, she knew she could see this through. Over the next week, Maya felt the strain of waiting, each day passing with no word from LuxSmart. Every morning she checked her email and phone, hoping for an update from Linda. The anxiety lingered, growing with each day of silence. Maya tried to focus on her work and her daily routine, but the uncertainty weighed heavily on her mind. Leah called frequently, offering words of encouragement. Each call helped ease the tension, even if just a little, and Maya was grateful for the reminder that she wasn't alone in this. Still, the unanswered questions gnawed at her. Would LuxSmart respond? Would they accept the changes? Or would this fight stretch on longer than she'd anticipated? Then, one morning as Maya was getting ready for her day, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and saw Linda's name, her heart racing as she quickly answered the call. Good morning, Maya. Linda greeted her, her tone steady and professional. I have some news from LuxSmart's corporate office. Maya felt her pulse quicken, every nerve on edge. What did they say? She asked, barely able to contain her anticipation. Linda paused briefly, then spoke. They've agreed to meet our demands, she said. They're offering a formal public apology for the incident, and they're committed to implementing mandatory sensitivity training for all employees immediately. They've also agreed to revise their security protocols to ensure that all customers are treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their appearance. Maya's eyes widened, a wave of relief and disbelief washing over her. They agreed to all of it? Yes, Linda confirmed. They've realized the importance of addressing this issue openly, especially with the media attention surrounding the case. They want to hold a press conference to issue the apology publicly, and they've requested that you be there. Maya, they want to acknowledge your courage and use this as an opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to change. Maya felt a surge of emotion as she absorbed Linda's words. After everything she had endured, it was overwhelming to know that her actions had led to real, meaningful change. I don't even know what to say, she managed, her voice breaking slightly. I didn't think they'd actually listen. Linda's voice softened, filled with genuine warmth. They listened because of you, Maya. This is a victory, not just for you, but for everyone who has ever faced judgment or mistreatment because of their appearance. You should be incredibly proud. This kind of change doesn't come easily. Maya took a steadying breath, feeling a sense of calm she hadn't felt in weeks. When is the press conference? They're aiming for tomorrow afternoon, Linda replied. I'll be there with you, along with Leah. You'll have the chance to speak if you feel comfortable doing so, but that's entirely your choice. This is your moment, so it's completely up to you. Maya nodded, even though Linda couldn't see her. I want to speak, she said firmly. I want to make sure they understand why this matters. Linda's approval was clear in her voice. That sounds perfect, Maya. I'll send you all the details, and we'll prepare together. You've got this. As Maya ended the call, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace and accomplishment. This had been a difficult journey, but knowing that her efforts had brought about real change made every step worth it. Tomorrow, she would have the chance to speak her truth, and she intended to make every word count. The next afternoon would mark the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, a chapter where people were respected, regardless of appearances, because she had stood up and demanded it. The next afternoon, Maya arrived outside Luxmart with Leah and Linda by her side. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as reporters gathered around a podium set up in front of the store's entrance. Cameramen adjusted their equipment, and a crowd of onlookers had started to form. Above the store's doors, Luxmart's logo gleamed in the bright afternoon sun, contrasting with the tension that filled the air. Linda placed a hand on Maya's shoulder, giving her a reassuring smile. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady and encouraging. Maya took a deep breath, glancing at Leah, who smiled and squeezed her hand. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her heart pounding but her determination unwavering. "I've come this far. I want people to hear why this matters." Leah nodded. "Just speak from the heart. You've already done the hard part by standing up for yourself. Today is about showing others that change is possible." A few moments later, the CEO of Luxmart, George Anderson, stepped up to the podium, his expression serious yet sincere. The cameras flashed as he adjusted the microphone, glancing briefly in Maya's direction before addressing the crowd. "Good afternoon," George began, his voice carrying over the quiet murmurs of the crowd. "My name is George Anderson, and I'm the CEO of Luxmart. Today, we're here to address a serious incident that occurred in our store on September 8th, involving Miss Maya Thompson." He paused, his face somber as he continued. "On that day, Miss Thompson was wrongly accused of shoplifting, detained, and searched without any evidence. This incident was a significant mistake, and it caused Miss Thompson unnecessary distress and humiliation. Luxmart takes these matters very seriously, and we recognize that our actions were wrong. Our assumptions were influenced by unconscious biases, which have no place in our stores." Maya listened intently, her emotions a mixture of relief and validation. The words couldn't undo what had happened, but hearing the CEO openly acknowledge Luxmart's mistake in front of so many people felt like an important step. "As a company," George continued, "we are committed to ensuring that all our customers feel respected and valued. To that end, we will be implementing mandatory sensitivity training for all employees, and we will revise our security protocols to prevent incidents like this from happening again. Today, on behalf of Luxmart, I want to offer my sincerest apologies to Ms. Thompson, and I want to thank her for her courage in bringing this issue to our attention." The crowd murmured in agreement, and George turned to Maya, his gaze sincere. "Ms. Thompson, we are deeply sorry for what you went through. Your willingness to speak out has shown us the changes we need to make. Thank you for helping us become a better company." With that, George gestured for Maya to take the podium. She took a steadying breath and stepped forward, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her as she faced the crowd. This was her chance to tell her story and to ensure that her experience resonated with others. "Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for your apology and for committing to change," Maya began, her voice calm yet powerful. "I came to Luxmart that day to buy a gift, to celebrate someone important to me. But instead, I was treated as a suspect. I was judged not by my actions but by my appearance, and that kind of judgment and profiling hurts. It's something no one should ever have to go through." She paused, her words hanging in the air as the crowd listened intently. "I'm here today because I believe in the power of change. I believe that by standing up and saying, 'This isn't right,' we can create a world where people are respected and valued for who they are, not for how they're perceived." Maya's gaze swept across the faces in the crowd, each one focused on her, listening. She felt the strength of her convictions rise within her, pushing her words forward. "This is bigger than just me. This is about everyone who's ever felt judged unfairly, anyone who's been made to feel that they don't belong because of their appearance. Every person deserves dignity, respect, and the freedom to shop, work, and live without fear of being judged." She glanced at Leah and Linda, who both smiled at her, their expressions filled with pride and encouragement. Her voice grew steadier, fueled by the importance of what she was saying. "We're all responsible for creating a world that is fair and just," she continued. "Today, we're taking a step toward that world. By making these changes, LuxSmart is setting an example, showing that growth is possible and that everyone deserves a place where they feel safe and respected. Let's keep challenging the biases that lead to incidents like mine, and let's make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." With her final words, Maya felt a wave of emotion surge through her, a mixture of relief and accomplishment. She had spoken her truth, and her words had reached beyond this moment. The crowd responded with applause, and Maya felt the support of those around her, knowing that her story would resonate and inspire. As she stepped away from the podium, George approached her, extending his hand. "Thank you, Miss Thompson," he said, his voice filled with genuine respect. "You've helped us take an important step forward. We're committed to following through on our promises." Maya shook his hand, her expression calm yet resolute. "Thank you for listening. I hope this really is just the beginning." As the press conference concluded, reporters gathered around Maya, asking questions and wanting to know more about her journey. Linda and Leah stood beside her, helping navigate the sea of inquiries, ensuring Maya wasn't overwhelmed. Maya answered some questions, emphasizing the need for continued awareness and real change in addressing racial profiling. Finally, as the crowd began to disperse, Maya felt a deep sense of peace settle within her. She had faced her fears and demanded accountability, and LuxSmart had responded. Her story had opened the door to change, not just for herself, but for many who had faced the same silent judgment. Leah gave her a warm hug. "You were amazing, Maya. I'm so proud of you. You didn't just make them listen. You made them see." Linda nodded in agreement. "This is how change happens. You've set a powerful example, Maya. Others will see this and know they can stand up too." Maya smiled, gratitude filling her heart. "Thank you, both of you, for being with me every step of the way. I couldn't have done it alone." They left LuxSmart together, the sun shining brightly as they walked down the street. For the first time since that fateful day, Maya felt a profound sense of closure. This was only the beginning of a larger fight, but it was a victory nonetheless, and she was ready to continue the journey toward a more just world. In the days that followed the press conference, Maya was surprised by the overwhelming response her story received. News outlets across the city covered the press conference, and her story gained traction on social media. Messages began pouring in from people all over. Some shared their own stories of feeling judged or profiled in public spaces, while others simply thanked her for standing up and speaking out. The impact of her voice reached farther than she had ever imagined, and it filled her with a new sense of purpose. One evening, Maya sat at her kitchen table, scrolling through the messages on her phone. Each one represented someone who had experienced something similar, someone who felt seen and heard because of her story. A particular message from a young woman named Alana caught her eye. "Maya, thank you for your bravery. I'm a college student, and I experienced something similar at a store last year. I felt so humiliated and powerless, and for a long time I thought it was just me. Seeing you speak out gave me the courage to believe that I deserve respect too. Thank you for helping me see that." Reading Alana's words brought tears to Maya's eyes. She hadn't fully grasped how many people could relate to her experience, and seeing the gratitude in Alana's message made all her efforts worthwhile. She realized that her fight for justice hadn't just been about one incident. It was about addressing a widespread issue that affected countless people. As she continued reading through the messages, her phone buzzed with a new call. She smiled when she saw Leah's name on the screen. "Hey, Leah?" Maya greeted her, the warmth in her voice unmistakable. "Maya, I've been seeing all the messages and articles about you. People are really responding to your story," Leah said, her voice filled with pride. "It's incredible to see so many people inspired by your bravery." "It's been overwhelming," Maya admitted. "I never imagined it would reach this far. But hearing from people who felt the same way, it's made me realize that this isn't just about what happened to me. This is about all of us. There's so much more work to do." Leah was silent for a moment, then spoke with a thoughtful tone. You know, maybe this could be the beginning of something bigger. What if we started an advocacy group? A place where people can share their stories, raise awareness, and push for changes that protect everyone's dignity. The idea caught Maya by surprise, but the more she thought about it, the more it resonated with her. An advocacy group that could really make a difference. We could provide a voice for people who feel powerless, give them a platform to speak out. Exactly, Leah replied, her excitement growing. You've already started the conversation and people are listening. We could work with civil rights organizations, hold workshops, and even push for policy changes across the retail industry. This isn't just a fight for individual justice, it's a fight to create a fairer society. Maya felt a surge of purpose. She knew firsthand how isolating these experiences could feel, and the thought of creating a supportive community where people could find strength and solidarity filled her with a sense of hope. I love the idea, Leah. Let's do it. Let's create a space where people can stand up together. In the following days, Maya and Leah began planning their new project. They brainstormed names for the organization, eventually settling on Dignity First, a name that captured their mission to ensure that everyone was treated with respect and humanity. They outlined their goals, focusing on advocating for fair treatment, promoting awareness of implicit biases, and encouraging companies to adopt policies that foster inclusivity. With Linda's help, they connected with civil rights organizations and legal advisors who could provide guidance. Word quickly spread, and soon, Maya and Leah formed a small team of dedicated volunteers who believed in their cause. Some were law students, some were community activists, and others were simply people who had been moved by Maya's story and wanted to contribute. One of their first initiatives was to create an online platform where people could share their stories anonymously. They called it Voices of Respect, and within days, submissions began pouring in. Stories of bias in retail stores, workplaces, schools, and even healthcare settings flooded the page. Reading each one reminded Maya of the power of shared experiences, and she felt a profound sense of responsibility to continue the fight. Through Dignity First, Maya and Leah organized their first awareness workshop at a local community center. They invited speakers, including legal experts and community leaders, to discuss racial profiling, unconscious biases, and the importance of creating inclusive spaces. The workshop drew a larger crowd than they had anticipated, and by the end, Maya realized just how many people were ready to join their cause. After the workshop, a young man approached Maya, his expression one of gratitude and admiration. "Thank you for today," he said, his voice steady yet emotional. "I've experienced things like this my whole life, but I always thought it was something I just had to accept. Hearing you speak and seeing so many people here, it makes me feel like I don't have to stay silent anymore." Maya smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her heart. "You don't have to stay silent. None of us do. We're stronger when we speak up together, and that's exactly what we're here to do." As the young man walked away, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose settle within her. This was more than just a response to what had happened at Luxmart. It was the beginning of a movement that could reach far beyond her own experience. Through Dignity First, she was giving people a voice, a way to stand together against discrimination and bias. Leah joined her, her expression filled with pride. "You did an incredible job today, Maya. This is only the start." Maya nodded, her resolve shining through. "Yes, and I'm ready for it. We're going to make sure everyone has a place where they feel respected, seen, and valued." As they left the community center, Maya glanced back, feeling the energy of everyone who had attended. They had come together as strangers, but they had left as a community, bound by a shared vision of dignity and respect. And as she looked toward the future, Maya knew that she was no longer just standing up for herself. She was standing up for everyone who had ever felt unseen. In the weeks that followed, Dignity First gained momentum, drawing support from communities far and wide. The stories shared on Voices of Respect continued to resonate, highlighting how deeply rooted issues of bias and discrimination were in various sectors of society. Maya poured herself into the work, reaching out to activists, collaborating with civil rights organizations, and meeting individuals whose experiences mirrored her own. She was inspired by each story and each person, feeling a connection to a community built on shared resilience. One afternoon, Maya and Leah sat at their office, a modest but cozy space they had rented to run Dignity First. It was a small office with large windows that let in plenty of natural light, and the walls were decorated with posters bearing powerful quotes about justice, respect, and equality. As they sipped coffee and reviewed their progress, Maya felt a sense of fulfillment she had never known before. "Look at this," Leah said, gesturing to a new email. "We've been invited to speak at the Citywide Diversity and Inclusion Forum next month. They want us to present Dignity First as a model for community-driven advocacy." Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. "That's amazing, Leah. This is our chance to show people how powerful a community can be when we stand together." Leah nodded, her voice filled with pride. "It really is. You've transformed your story into something that's creating real change, Maya. I hope you realize how much of a difference you're making." Maya paused, reflecting on everything that had happened since that day at LuxSmart. "Sometimes I still can't believe it. I went from feeling humiliated and alone to feeling like part of something so much bigger. All these people sharing their stories, finding courage, it's inspiring." Just then there was a knock at the door. Leah got up to answer, and Maya was surprised to see Ben Adams, the former LuxSmart security guard who had testified on her behalf. He was holding a small stack of papers, his expression a mixture of nervousness and determination. "Ben," Maya greeted him, surprised but pleased. "It's great to see you. What brings you here?" Ben looked down, shifting nervously. I hope I'm not interrupting," he said, glancing between Maya and Leah. "I wanted to see if I could help out with Dignity First. After everything that happened, I realized I don't just want to be sorry. I want to make a difference too." Maya exchanged a glance with Leah, both of them touched by Ben's sincerity. "Of course, Ben," she said, smiling. "We'd be glad to have you on board. We're all about giving people a platform to learn, grow, and make a difference." Ben looked visibly relieved, his shoulders relaxing as he smiled back. "Thank you. I brought some ideas," he said, holding up the papers. "I've been researching security practices and training programs that focus on reducing bias. I thought maybe we could work on promoting these within the industry." Maya's eyes widened with appreciation. "That's a fantastic idea, Ben. Your experience and insights could be invaluable. If we can get stores to adopt these practices, it could prevent so many people from facing what I went through." Leah nodded in agreement. "Absolutely. Together, we can create resources and recommendations that retail stores and other businesses can adopt. And having someone with inside knowledge of the industry gives us a credible perspective." They spent the afternoon discussing Ben's ideas and outlining a new initiative focused on bias-free security, a program designed to educate security personnel on recognizing and overcoming unconscious biases. They planned to collaborate with experts in the field and design training modules that could be implemented across various businesses. The initiative would be a core part of Dignity First's advocacy, aiming to create a safer, more inclusive experience for all customers. As they wrapped up, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. Having Ben join their team felt like a powerful step toward unity and reconciliation. It was a reminder that people could change, that growth was possible, and that even those who had once been part of the problem could be part of the solution. A few weeks later, Maya and Leah, accompanied by Ben, arrived at the Citywide Diversity and Inclusion Forum, where they would present Dignity First and its mission. The forum was held in a large convention center, bustling with activists, community leaders, and professionals dedicated to creating inclusive environments. Standing at the podium in front of a packed room, Maya felt the familiar flutter of nerves, but she drew strength from the journey that had brought her here. She began by sharing her story. The incident at LuxSmart, the pain and injustice she had felt, and the determination that had led her to stand up and fight for change. "When we face injustice, we have two choices," Maya said, her voice clear and resolute. "We can either let it silence us or we can let it push us to speak out. Dignity First was born out of that choice, and we are here to show that we won't be silent. Together, we're creating a community that believes in the power of dignity and respect for all. The audience erupted into applause, and Maya's heart swelled with gratitude. As she continued, she introduced voices of respect, sharing how the platform had become a space for people to share their experiences and find solidarity. She explained their new bias-free security initiative, led by Ben, aimed at transforming how security is practiced in retail and other industries. Leah and Ben took turns speaking as well, each sharing their unique perspectives and goals. Ben spoke about his journey from silent bystander to active advocate, his voice filled with sincerity as he explained his commitment to making sure no one else felt the way Maya had that day. "I'm here because I want to be part of the solution," Ben said, his voice steady yet emotional. "We all have a role to play in creating spaces that are fair and respectful, and I'm grateful to Dignity First for giving me the chance to make a real difference." As they concluded their presentation, the room was filled with applause, and people approached them, eager to connect and collaborate. Maya felt a profound sense of accomplishment as she looked at Leah and Ben. Together, they had built something real, something that would help create a world where everyone, regardless of background, could feel safe and valued. Leaving the convention center that evening, Maya felt a new chapter beginning. She knew there was much more work to be done, but with her team by her side and a community of supporters behind her, she was ready to face the future. This journey had transformed her life, and now she was helping to transform the lives of others, one step at a time. As Dignity First continued to grow, Maya and Leah found themselves constantly inspired by the outpouring of support and the stories that poured into voices of respect. The organization began to attract attention from other advocacy groups, universities, and even government organizations interested in promoting inclusivity and reducing discrimination in their institutions. The impact of Maya's story was evident, and with each step, they felt their mission was reaching new heights. One morning, Maya received an invitation from a prestigious university to speak at a conference on social justice and advocacy. The event, titled Empowering Change, was to feature speakers from various backgrounds who were using their voices to create meaningful change in society. Maya was both excited and nervous, as this would be her largest speaking engagement yet. "Leah, can you believe this?" Maya said, holding up the invitation. "They want us to talk about Dignity First at Empowering Change. This is such an incredible opportunity." Leah's face lit up with excitement. "That's amazing, Maya. This is a chance to reach even more people. Imagine how many future leaders will be in that room. Sharing our work could inspire them to carry the mission forward." Preparing for the conference became a new focus for Dignity First. They spent days refining their presentation, adding stories from voices of respect that highlighted the diverse experiences people faced in retail, workplaces, and public spaces. Maya wanted the audience to feel the weight of these stories, to understand the reality of discrimination and the need for systemic change. Together, they crafted a powerful narrative that combined Maya's personal journey, Dignity First's initiatives, and the testimonials of people from all walks of life. When the day of the conference arrived, Maya and Leah walked onto the campus, surrounded by students, faculty, and activists from around the world. The auditorium was packed with people eager to hear from those on the front lines of social change. As Maya stepped up to the stage, she took a moment to absorb the energy of the room, feeling a mix of pride and responsibility. "Thank you for being here," Maya began, her voice carrying over the audience. "I'm Maya Thompson, and I'm the founder of Dignity First. My journey started with an experience that, unfortunately, many of you may relate to, a moment of judgment based solely on appearance. That day I felt humiliated, but it also awakened a determination in me to stand up, not just for myself, but for everyone who has ever felt unseen." She spoke about the incident at LuxSmart, her fight for justice, and the community that had come together through Dignity First. She introduced voices of respect, sharing how the platform had allowed people to share their experiences anonymously and find solidarity. She discussed their bias-free security initiative, explaining how it was designed to challenge the biases that influence security practices in stores, workplaces, and public spaces. "Our mission at Dignity First is simple: to create a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of who they are or where they come from, Maya continued. We believe that by sharing our stories, by creating policies that promote inclusivity, and by standing together, we can make this vision a reality. The audience responded with applause, and as Maya looked out at the sea of faces, she could see the impact her words were having. After her speech, people approached her, expressing their appreciation and eagerness to support Dignity First. Some were students interested in volunteering, while others were professors wanting to collaborate on research that would bring data to their mission. Following the success of the conference, Dignity First received offers to collaborate with other organizations on national campaigns. These partnerships allowed Maya and Leah to expand their reach even further, working on initiatives that targeted schools, workplaces, and public transportation systems. They developed training modules and workshops focused on recognizing and addressing unconscious bias, and soon, their work was being implemented in various institutions. One of the most impactful collaborations was with a major retail association, which reached out to Dignity First after hearing about the bias-free security initiative. They wanted to implement Maya's ideas across multiple retail chains, ensuring that security protocols in their stores promoted fair and respectful treatment for all customers. Maya, Leah, and Ben, who had become an integral part of Dignity First's leadership, worked tirelessly with the retail association. They conducted training sessions, shared their experiences, and provided guidance on how to build inclusive practices. The success of the initiative exceeded their expectations, as employees and customers alike expressed appreciation for the newfound sense of safety and respect in the stores. One day, after a particularly productive meeting with a new partner organization, Leah turned to Maya, her expression filled with pride. "Look at how far we've come, Maya. We've gone from one story to an entire movement. And the best part is, we're only getting started." Maya smiled, her heart filled with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it alone, Leah. It's because of all of us, the team, the community, and the people sharing their stories, that Dignity First has become what it is today. We've built something that's bigger than any one of us." Leah nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes, and together, we're helping to create a world that's more fair, compassionate, and just." As Dignity First continued to expand its influence, Maya and her team were approached by universities and research centers, asking if they would be interested in studying the long-term effects of racial and social profiling. With the guidance of academic partners, they launched a project to gather data and analyze the impact of bias on individuals and communities. The research would provide crucial insights, helping to advocate for policy changes on a broader scale. Maya felt a deep sense of fulfillment as she reflected on the journey. What had started as a painful experience had blossomed into an organization that was creating change, impacting lives, and challenging long-held biases. Dignity First had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the strength of the community and the power of standing up for what was right. As she left the office one evening, Maya looked at the city lights, feeling a profound sense of purpose. This journey was far from over, but she knew that each step they took was a step toward a world where everyone, no matter their background, was treated with dignity, respect, and compassion. She was ready for whatever lay ahead, and with her team by her side, she felt unstoppable. Months passed, and Dignity First continued to grow, becoming a movement that inspired communities across the country. As their impact expanded, Maya and Leah noticed a new wave of young people drawn to their mission. Students, recent graduates, and activists reached out, eager to contribute their skills and ideas to push the movement forward. Recognizing the potential of these passionate young voices, Maya and Leah decided to launch an internship and mentorship program within Dignity First. They wanted to cultivate a new generation of leaders who could carry the mission into the future, empowering them with the tools and knowledge to address bias and promote inclusivity in their own communities. The first group of interns included diverse students from various backgrounds, each bringing unique perspectives and experiences. Some had faced discrimination firsthand, while others were driven by a desire to advocate for their peers and challenge injustices in their communities. Maya felt inspired by their enthusiasm and dedication. One of the interns, a college sophomore named Jordan, quickly stood out. Jordan was studying social work and had a deep passion for addressing systemic issues. During a team meeting, Jordan shared a powerful story about his own experience with bias, which resonated deeply with the other interns and the Dignity First team. "I was volunteering at a food bank last year," Jordan said, his voice steady but emotional. "And I could see how differently people were treated based on how they looked or where they were from. It hurts to watch people feel less than just because of their circumstances. That's why I want to be here. I want to help create a world where people don't have to feel that way." Maya and Leah were moved by Jordan's commitment, and they encouraged him to take on a larger role in Dignity First's outreach efforts. Jordan began leading workshops, using his own experiences to connect with communities, students, and professionals alike. His empathy and passion brought people together, creating a bridge between Dignity First and groups they hadn't reached before. With the mentorship program underway, Maya found herself reflecting on her journey. Watching these young leaders reminded her of the struggles she had faced when starting out, but also of the strength she had discovered in herself. She was filled with a profound sense of pride in the community they had built, a place where everyone was welcomed, valued, and empowered to make a difference. One evening, Maya and Leah held a small gathering at the Dignity First office to celebrate the progress they had made and to recognize the interns' contributions. The team members shared stories of the milestones they had achieved, each one a reminder of how much could be accomplished through dedication and unity. As the night progressed, Leah raised a toast, her face glowing with pride. "To everyone here, thank you. Every single one of you has brought something unique and irreplaceable to Dignity First. Together, we've shown that when we stand up for each other, we're unstoppable." Maya took her turn, looking around at the faces of her team, her friends, and the young leaders who had joined their mission. This journey started with one story, but it's grown into something so much bigger. Each of you has contributed to a movement that reaches beyond all of us, and I am so grateful for that. Let's continue to push for a world where everyone is treated with dignity, respect, and kindness. As they raised their glasses, the team shared a sense of unity and purpose that was palpable. They were a family now, connected not by blood but by a shared vision and a commitment to a fairer world. It was a moment of celebration, but also a reminder of the work still ahead. In the weeks that followed, Dignity First focused on expanding its mentorship program, partnering with high schools and community centers to offer workshops on bias awareness, advocacy, and leadership. Young people from different backgrounds and experiences came together to learn, share, and find strength in one another's stories. One day, as Maya was wrapping up a session at a local community center, a high school student named Priya approached her. Priya was quiet and shy, but her eyes sparkled with determination as she gathered the courage to speak. "Miss Thompson, thank you for today," Priya said, her voice soft but sincere. "I've always felt different because of my background, and sometimes I don't feel like I belong. Hearing your story made me realize that I can make a difference too." Maya's heart swelled with pride as she looked at Priya. "You absolutely can, Priya. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. Your voice is powerful, and if you're ever ready, Dignity First is here for you." Priya smiled, a spark of confidence lighting up her face. "Thank you. I think I'd like to join your team someday." Maya smiled back, seeing a glimpse of herself in Priya's eyes. She knew that the next generation was ready and that together they would continue the work she had started. Leaving the community center that day, Maya felt a deep sense of hope. Dignity First was no longer just an organization. It was a legacy, one that would be carried forward by young leaders like Priya, Jordan, and countless others who believed in a fairer, more inclusive world. As she walked back to her office, Maya realized that her fight for justice had transformed into a lifelong mission, one that would extend far beyond her own experiences. She felt a renewed commitment to this path, knowing that she was part of a movement that would endure, creating waves of change for generations to come. As Dignity First reached new heights, Maya couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her here. What began as a painful experience at LuxMart had grown into a movement that spanned cities, organizations, and hearts. Each step she'd taken, each story shared, and each voice uplifted had created waves of change that inspired countless others to stand up for respect and equality. The journey had not been easy. There were moments when Maya had felt alone, moments of doubt when the weight of it all seemed almost too much to bear. But with the support of friends like Leah, the courage of allies like Ben, and the dedication of young leaders like Jordan and Priya, she discovered that true strength lies in unity and purpose. The story of Dignity First became a reminder that change often starts with a single voice, but can grow to encompass entire communities. Maya learned that even the smallest act of bravery, standing up, speaking out, or simply sharing one's story, could create ripples that reach beyond what one person could ever imagine. And in the end, it was these collective voices that built a world where everyone, regardless of appearance, background, or status, could feel safe, valued, and respected. Through her journey, Maya discovered that change is not just a destination, but a continuous process. Dignity First had created a space where people could find support and solidarity, but it was also a place that constantly evolved, learning from each new story and adapting to meet the needs of the community. The fight for dignity and respect was ongoing, and Maya felt honored to be part of a movement that would continue to thrive, inspiring future generations to carry forward the message of compassion and equality. If you found this story inspiring, comment 1 below. If you found it very inspiring, comment 2. And please share your own stories or thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how you've faced challenges or supported others in standing up for respect and dignity. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our upcoming inspiring stories. We can't wait to hear your thoughts below. Join the conversation.